Hi guys, welcome back. Here we are to learn how to download Python and install it for the first time. Of course, for different microcontrollers, you may already have Python pre-installed, but for practice, you can start with on your computer itself just to learn Python. For the first few lectures, we'll be learning how to use Python, how to start with the basics of Python, and then go on to interface with IoT. Alright, now how do we start the installation process? Go on to your browser and you can just write Python. You can go to this particular website called as python.org. Over here you have downloads. In downloads for Windows, you have something like Python. You can download the latest version for Windows, download Python 3.6.2. You can just click on it and just start, after it does the download. You have a few more documentation which is given for Linux and Mac OS too. You can just go to that. If you want Linux, you can just go to that and you can understand how this is done. And they have given you detailed documentation for the same. Say for example, you can just download the latest Python 3 release, and once you download the Python 3 release, you can over there you have something called as a readme, and you can just start off with it. It's not much of a deal. In Python 3.6.2, the moment for Windows, if you download Python 3.6.2, you get something like this on your desktop, where this is your exe file. When you click on the same, it tells you, okay, you can say run. When you run, you can say there will be an option for you if you're installing for the first time, which says install, and you can start with the installation, allow the setup for a couple of times, and once you're done with that, Python 3.6.2 is installed. It doesn't take much of an effort to install it on Windows. This is about the installation of Python. Coming on to, of course I'm cancelling it out because it says do I want to modify, repair or uninstall, which I do not want to. Okay, and then how do I start off with Python? Okay, how do I start off with Python? Once I have my Python installed, how do I start off with it? Maybe you can just search for something on your computer. You can just write something called as an IDLE. An IDLE is the Python GUI that you can use for programming. So here you have the Python GUI that is called as idle. You can start programming over here in Python. It's as simple as that. Okay, with this we'll start with the programming from the next video on. Welcome back. Here we have opened the idle for you, the idle shell, okay, in which we can install. For those who haven't, in which we can write a program. For those who haven't opened, once again, if you want, you can just search for idle, and once you're done with that, just click on it, and here you have, boom, idle opens for you. Okay, so here you have the Python 3.4.3 shell out here. Okay, so you may be having a Python 3.6, but this one is an idle for Python 3.4.3. Okay, so here how do I start off with Python? Okay, I can say, can you see over here 3 arrows, right? This particular environment of Python, where you can write a lot of commands here, this particular environment of Python is called as a shell. It's called as a shell. This particular shell, you can just give it some sort of command and it pops out for you a reply or a response immediately. It does not wait for you to write down a complete program. This is not a script, but you can write it. This is called as an interpreter, where you can write your command and it gives you back the response immediately. Well, what are we waiting for? Can I write a command? Yes, anything. Let's say Python for basic calculations. How do I start off with Python for basic calculation? 2 into 3, enter. Oh, it threw back 6 for me. Okay, what about 2.5 multiplied by 6.4? It says 16.0. Wow, that's cool. Okay, so it returns for me something like that. What about 5 plus 6? That's something for addition. What about 5.5 plus 6.3? 11.8. Okay, that's cool. 8 minus 9, it says minus 1. Okay, it gives me some negative answer too. What about 9 divided by 5? For those who have programmed earlier in C, C++, Java, 9 divided by 5 would be something called as a floor division, which would return as an answer 5. The answer would be 1. that means 9 divided by 5, it would just give them the the non-decimal part of it. Okay, so it would have been 1, but what does Python return? It returns for you the answer, that is 1.8. So this is an actual division, not floor division. What about Python? Sir, Python, can I write something where, can I write a comment in Python? Yes, you can. You can write a comment saying, hi, this, I'm experimenting with simple calculations in Python. Okay. So you have done some experiments, and this is how you do it. So these are your few simple experiments with simple calculations in Python. Okay, can we do something more? All right. So for that, when we get to it, let's do something as to what Python can do with regards to the basic program which is executed by all programming languages when you start. Okay, so what is the basic program that we start when we start with any programming language? What is the first thing that you do? We learn how to print hello world. That's what you do. How do I do it in Python? Is there a way to do it? Is there a way to do it? Okay, it can be as simple as this. Okay, it can be as simple as this in the shell. In the shell, it can be as simple as this. You can just say hello world and it will echo it back. Of course, this is not the way you're gonna just write hello world. Okay, but sir, I want to print hello world. Okay, I want to see hello world. How do I do it? Okay, for now, I'm just gonna help you out with the documentation. I'm gonna help you out to understand that Python already has a few functions. For now, if you're not familiar with the terminology, let me call it as a command. Okay, so Python has a few commands which you can just call and execute your particular program. So how do I do it? In help, there is something called as Python docs. Click on Python docs. It gives you the Python 3.4.3 documentation. Okay, so in the documentation, there is something called as the library reference. Can you click on library reference? When you click on library reference, it tells you something called as a built-in functions. I have a terminology for that, BIFs, built-in functions of Python. The built-in functions of Python that are there here. Okay, we are going to use them for the built-in functions. We're going to use them for let's say we are going to use these commands which are already there in Python to do a particular task which most people do. Okay, let's see a few built-in functions out here. One of the functions which is of much interest to me is this particular function called as print. Okay, what does print function do? If I click on print function, it says print requires a few star objects. Okay, I don't understand that for now. Okay, let me see what does print does. Print. Okay, it requires a value. It requires a value. What kind of value do you need? Okay, can I say hello world? Can I say hello world? And then return it. It says hello world. Wow. So here you have something called as you called a particular function. What is a function? The built-in function of Python, the function name was print. So you had a function. So when you called a particular function, it requires for you some parameter. What do you want me to print? That is what it is asking you. It wants some parameter from you. What kind of parameter? The parameter that you want to print. So print is something which you don't need to define. It is already defined by Python for you. It is a function which you need to call. Okay, so to understand, I'm just saying this to understand the concept of a function. A function is something which you might want to call again and again. Say today I just printed now hello world. I want to print hello again. Okay, so I'm calling this function print. I am calling this function print again from my program. I'm calling this function print again from my program, and I say hello again. So a function is something which you can call again and again and is already defined for you. You didn't define this function. Okay, Python defined it for you. You can call this function. All you need to do is you need to pass a parameter to that particular function. You need to pass something called as an argument to the function. So that means can I say functions are nothing but some piece of code which can be executed, again, and which can be executed, or I can say which can be executed or called again and again by our program. Oh, so that means I can keep calling my this piece of code again and again. So it can be executed again and again, and my program will keep calling it again and again. All that you need to do, what do you need to pass to these functions? All that we have to do is pass some parameters, or we can also call them as arguments. We can pass these arguments to these functions. So the function will, what will it do? The function will take this parameter, do some process with this parameter, and then do the task for which you have called that particular function. So function can do a particular task for you multiple times. Is that clear? Multiple times whenever you call it. This is a particular function. Hope you understood that once again. So here you have a function print which is called again and again. Why am I explaining functions to you at the outset itself? Okay, because in Python, functions are going to be the most important thing, where you might have to define a few functions, you might have to call a few built-in functions. All of them are going to be extremely important from the outset itself. Generally, functions in any programming languages are introduced to you at a much later stage, but not for Python. You need to introduce them right away, because we are going to use them multiple times. And for IoT, you are going to require these functions. You can multiple functions from multiple libraries. You're going to call them multiple times. Hence, this is where functions plays a very important role. Okay, hope you understood the concept of a function. Now comes a question. Okay, sir, is it possible for me to define? Okay, I don't want to keep executing code like this. Okay, this is nothing but a, what is this? This is nothing but a shell, or I can say an interpreter, which gives me a line by line execution, So I want something. No. I don't want the execution to happen immediately when I write one line, when I write one command. I don't want the execution to happen immediately. I want to write a particular program as a program, just like how I used to do with C++. And then when I execute it, boom, here I have my entire program. Is it possible for me to do that? Yes, it is. Okay, basically I need to write something called as a script. How do I do it? File. Go to new file. In the new file, I can just write here any particular function. I can write a big program here. I can write multiple lines, and it won't get executed when you press an enter. You need to execute it manually by going to run and say run module. Of course, Python does compilation line by line, and it also executes line by line. But Python does compile line by line, but you don't need to worry about it. You just need to write the entire program, okay, and Python does it line by line itself. Okay, so now let me say I want to print. What do I need to print? I need to print, say, this is my first Python script. And of course I need to save it. So can I say file save, and I say file save. In file save, I'll say where am I? Can I say in file save? I'll save it somewhere. Let me save it somewhere in my desktop. Okay, so in my desktop, I'm gonna say, let me make a new folder and say Python learning, or Python for IoT. Just write it down. Python learning. You can just write it there. You can just make it, and then I open this folder, and I'm going to name my file as my first file. So I say first, and it's going to be appended with a .py by itself. You don't need to write the .py. Just save it. Alright, here we have saved. Now can I run the code? Yes, I can. Run module. Okay, it says F5. That means I can directly press F5. Okay, so when I run the code, the shell gets restarted, and you have your code once again called as this is my first Python script. Okay, so this is how Python Python just gets this code for you. Hope you understood up till now. Here we have, we'll go for multiple programs. We'll learn how to create multiple things in the upcoming sessions. Hope you understood this concept. Thank you very much.